Good morning, Professor, and I'm here in week 7 to give my mentor response and reflection of my experience with my mentor over the past 7 weeks. So, first, I would like to discuss my mentor, Pastor Max. I chose Pastor Max because I thought he was a good fit for me. He has many years of pastoral ministry and leadership, and kind of new to the area, so he's kind of my supervising leader right now. And we met over the phone, and he was a great encouragement. And I really just love these workshops that provide us an opportunity where we can have a mentor. Most of our, like I said, most of our meetings were over the phone. Well, as we begin to meet and discuss over the last 7 weeks, we highlighted some key areas of the mentorship that he provided for me and the insights that he had given me into leadership in my spiritual walk. In our first meeting, we discussed about the essential of ministry and not placing our family on the ministry of sacrifice. Many times as a pastoral leader, I have come to a place where I demand so much from my children and my wife. Not so much demand, but I place this responsibility of ministry upon them. And so, when it comes to spiritual leadership, we have to have that balance. We talked about having that balance of leading as the pastoral leader and balancing family life and such. In that first week, also, we discussed and we kind of recapped this in our conversation, but I allowed Pastor Max to hold me accountable with all my spiritual goals, and he did a really good job of that. And he was always there with supportive and encouraging support when it comes to asking me those tough questions. Are you keeping your spiritual disciplines? Are you pursuing them? And that was a great idea. In our second meeting, I expressed my concerns with Pastor Max on how many people struggle with reading the Bible and praying. And I asked him, how do we teach the importance of spiritual disciplines to those we are leading? And some of what we recapped in this conversation was, the importance of leading by example. From the pulpit, if we lead in prayer, if we're doing our personal times of prayer where it's a private matter before God, but allowing people to see some of that and bringing some people into that. We discussed how coming alongside the people that were leading in ministry as Jesus did. And then in our next meeting, we highlighted another thing as we highlighted this. He reminded me of, in our third meeting about the church planning being very busy work and leaving little time for prayer. And we have to be very careful about that. So we went over that and discussed in more detail of what that means. Is when it comes to church planting, I am a church planner. When it comes to church planting, we have to be so intentional with our spiritual walk. We have to be intentional that we're not allowing the work of church planting to get in the way of our intimacy with God. And so these many insights of his pastoral experience, he led by example in our conversations. He always brought up times in his ministry where he faced these challenges, and hearing those challenges was a very encouraging. Was very encouraging to me in my ministry, because it puts flesh to what the idea of doing ministry is, and I was really able to understand these times with the mentor are just so valuable. There are valuable times where I was able to gain some understanding and insight from somebody who had more experience than me. And overall, this course has provided an awesome time of my spiritual walk and my spirituality. It brought it into perspective that when we get into ministry, it's a serious business. And as Christ, when he was in ministry, he went to the Garden of Gethsemane, and he prayed, and he spent time in intimacy. And as we closed our session, we spoke about that, and just an awesome time. Well, thank you, Professor, and I will see you next week in Workshop 8. God bless.